Go. Okay, so yeah, welcome to one of the first videos on collar and elbow, traditional Irish wrestling. I'm here with Thomas. Although we're not actually in Ireland at the moment, we have managed to bring the beautiful Irish summer with us. So let's get this over and done with so we can go and like take shelter under a tree or something. Okay, so all I want to talk about today is like the real basics of the style. Where do you grip and how do you stand? Collar and elbow, the clue is in the name. It's a fixed hold style, right hand on the collar, left hand on the sleeve. So it sounds very simple, and it is, but still, if you start trying to practice in that framework, you can take a little bit of a swerve and start doing it wrong if you don't pay attention to some of the important check marks along the way. So before we actually talk about, how to put your hands on the jacket, let's just talk about how to stand. Collar and elbow is different from maybe some of the other grappling styles that you are familiar with in that it requires, the rule set requires you maintain an upright stance all the way through. So if you are more used to something like BJJ or freestyle wrestling or MMA or basically any other type of wrestling that allows leg grabs, you'll probably be more used to hunching over like this because you're defending against shots, because Thomas can obviously lunge in and he can grab my legs. Collar and elbow doesn't allow you to do that. So that stance is actually forbidden by the rules, and it has been going back 100, 150 years. You look at the earliest rule sets, it says you have to stand upright and you have to keep your arms loose. So collar and elbow stance, it's not this hunched over, like, button heads against each other. Basically, just shoulder width apart, right foot slightly forwards, knees bent, spine straight, head up, looking basically over my opponent's shoulder. So I'm not here looking down at his feet, pulling my hips away. Upright, natural stance. And this is the stance you have to maintain throughout the entire bout. So that's how you stand. And once you've got your stance, you're ready to put your hands on the jacket. So as I said, collar and elbow, clue is in the name. Right hand on the collar, left hand on the sleeve. Now, of course, collars can stretch quite a long distance. So this is a collar and elbow jacket. It has quite a long collar. Any grappling jacket you can think of probably also has quite a long collar, like a BJJ gi or a judo gi. You have to ask yourself, like, where does the collar begin and where does the lapel begin, where does the lapel end? So when we're talking about the collar, we are literally meaning up here on this part of the jacket. So the custom collar and elbow jackets have this little knock that you can see here. We're grabbing the top part of that. So I'm putting my knuckles directly on his collarbone here underneath his ear. I'm not grabbing like down here at his diaphragm or around his nipples. I'm not going way up here around the back and choking down on his collar at the spine. It's here on the collarbone, boom. Bottom three fingers locked in against the collarbone. Top two fingers, or top finger rather, and the thumb, you don't even have to do much about it. In fact, you don't want to focus too much on grasping with the top finger and the thumb, because if you get too focused on grasping with the thumb, it puts this extra knock in your wrist that limits your lifting power. So these three bottom fingers are the ones that you focus on, locked in nice and tight against the collarbone underneath his ear. So right hand on collar, Thomas does the same to me, and then left hand on sleeve. Now, collar and elbow jackets, as you can see, have short sleeves. So you have two options here. You can either take a typical judo style, Sambo style, any other type of jacket wrestling style grip on the outside of the material like this, or because it has short sleeves, you are also free to take a thumb in grip if you want. That's your preference. But the grip has to be here on the elbow of the jacket. And again, it's a fixed hold style. You have to take this grip at the beginning of the match and you have to hold it all the way through. So it's not like in judo or BJJ or Sambo where you have to frantically fight for your grip dynamically and often repeatedly throughout the match. This is what you take at the start. So take your time. You don't have to run and put your hands on it quickly and then you end up getting a shitty grip. So take your time, make sure you've got a good grip, you're happy with it. If you're not sure you have enough material, you can put your thumb in, just kind of bunch the jacket up a bit, make sure there's plenty to grab. Boom, left hand on the collar. So right hand on collar, left hand on sleeve, symmetrical. We're standing upright, we're keeping our arms loose. So again, we're not exaggerating it. and end up doing this like, you know, John L. Sullivan style, like old London prize ring boxing, where I'm here kind of pushing him away, nice and loose, moving around, ready to engage my hips and ready to engage my trips. That's the collar and elbow stance, and that's how a match should look all the way through. And what I often see is you put people into a match or into a sparring bout, and they will start out like this, no problem. And then I say go. And then 10 seconds later, they're hunched over like this, you know, pushing each other around like a pair of gorillas, like throwing a trip every 10 seconds and wondering why it doesn't work. That's not how collar and elbow looks. That's not how it works. You have to maintain this upright stance all the way through, nice and loose, pulling, pushing, moving each other around, ready to engage your legs, ready to engage your trips. Real basics, real fundamentals. Thanks, that's all. So when you go and you start practicing some collar and elbow yourself, whether it's in a club, whether it's just with a group of friends on some vaguely flat ground, no matter what type of jacket you're wearing, so whether you have one of the custom jackets, whether you're using a judo gi, a BJJ gi. I know two guys who went to a thrift shop and they just bought 2 old shirts. That's perfectly fine. But just remember, right hand on collar at the collarbone, left hand on sleeve, nice, natural, upright stance. Maybe let's just move a little bit this way so we stay in frame. So yeah, right hand on collar, left hand on sleeve, boom. Shoulder width apart, right foot slightly forward, knees slightly bent. I'm looking over my opponent's shoulder. We have loose arms and we're moving around. We're engaging our hips and we're engaging our trips. That's how it looks. Cool, thanks. So yeah, go play around with it, have fun, take some videos, get some Instagram points. If you have any questions at any point, let me know. Thanks. Cool.